Welcome to the Premium Life podcast with the team from Simplicity. Hosting this podcast is Vince Munno. I'm your podcast producer, RJ Malik. Vince, good to see you. This is your first podcast. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, RJ. Good to see you. Thank you for producing our first podcast.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm looking forward to not only this podcast, but all the podcasts you have planned. So this is a podcast. It's pretty simple. We're going to get to know you because you're the host. You're going to have guests on. You're going to have all sorts of fun things to talk about. But we want to get to know you first. So why don't you give us a little bit of your background, how you got to where you are now? Just, briefly.
Well, so I've been in the financial services business for over 43 years. I actually got in the business when I was 20 years old. So I'm a unique prodigy or oddity or whatever you want to call it. It's because not too many people get in our business when they're 20 years old. I moved to Florida. I was born in upstate New York.
Where in upstate New York?
I was born in Niagara Falls.
I went to school at Geneseo.
Very good. Yeah.
SUNY at Geneseo, and my brother and his family live in Rochester.
Mm-hmm. Well, I hope you're a Buffalo Bills fan.
I grew up on Long Island, so no.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Not a Bills fan, but
it's not easy being a Buffalo Bills fan.
I'm sure.
But I think this year we might do it. Well, let's keep our fingers crossed.
Okay, Vince. For you, yeah, I can't. You're a rival. I can't wish you the best. Sorry about that, Vince. But let's talk about the show now and get back to you. So you grew up in Western New York,
and so again, my story is unique because I come from a first generation family. My father was born in Italy. I always say I'm like a blue collar, high end life insurance salesman. And when I say that, I mean I say it humbly. But we've done some of the biggest transactions for financial planners in the industry. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that after we get into this meeting. The focus is to talk about, finances, but also we want to have this podcast to talk about, people's mindsets, people's health. I belong to a program called Centergenics, and it's all about all this, vitamins and taking your blood test. So I want to focus on the mind, the body, and the spirit, and help financial advisors take their business to a different level with some of the experiences that I've had in my career.
So you're gearing this towards financial advisors, not individual people.
Yeah, primarily because that's our audience. That's what I do every single day. I always say I'm not good at a lot of things, but I'm really good at what I do, and I want to share those experiences and try to help and play it forward with other advisors. And that's my goal of this podcast, and I hope I can accomplish that. I think I can, and we're going to spread the word.
All right, then let's dig a little deeper. What does the Premium Life philosophy really mean, and how does it go beyond just money?
Okay, so I had, like most people, you have a mentor. When you get to a different level, you find somebody that inspires you, that motivates you, that teaches you different things. When I was 25 years old, I moved to Florida. I didn't know a single person. I was 20 years old, knocking on doors, cold calling, doing all the hard things that most people get out of the business doing. And when you ask me about my upbringing, the reason why it wasn't so hard for me, because my father was a masonry contractor. And then he became a builder, almost lost everything during the Nixon years when interest rates were in the 20% range.
Right.
Got stuck with 4 or 5 houses, speculating, never would file bankruptcy. He wanted to work his way out of the the debt that he had with all his tradesmen, because they were all his friends.
Yeah.
And, some of that was some of my values that I've learned. You do the right thing all the time. And there were some tough times during those years. My father had me working with him when I was 12 years old. And I haven't stopped. And I'm 43. So
you learned from an early age, what hard work, what hard work produces.
Yeah. And anybody that's out there knows the construction world. When you're in that, I think masonry is probably one of the hardest because it's nonstop, it's monotonous, and you work at all the elements. and it's, 8 hours, 9 hours steady. So when I got in this business, I said, this doesn't even seem like work. I just got to call people. I don't have to carry, 300 blocks or 400 blocks in a day, or lay the blocks bent over where your back is hurting all day.
Sure.
So it was an easy transition for me. Other people were making all kinds of excuses why they couldn't make it. And I'm like, guys, if you guys call this work, you don't know what work is. So I think some of that pain when I was going through when I was young really
Yeah.
paid off when I got in the business.
Well, it's good lessons to learn. And, you talk about your background, and it got me thinking about my background. On my mom's side I'm half Italian, and my great grandfather was in the construction business. So I'm familiar with that. And, it's something that, yeah, you learn a lot, and you have, uh, no pun intended, but a real good foundation for hard work. So let's get back to the podcast. Uh, What gap in the conversations that you're trying to, fill with this podcast for advisors? What is the gap that you're going to fill?
So what I'm really trying to help people believe is that if you really believe and you have the right mindset and you're prepared to talk to the bigger deals, you can get bigger deals. Um, I've been doing this a long time, and when I first started making money in the industry, I started doing it through the seminar marketing and getting in front of a lot of people. And being young in the business, I was going after older people, and I was using the grandchild that I wish I had that was coming to visit me since,
Sure.
card. That was the card I was playing when I was in my 20s and early 30s. And I used to have a lot, and I used to care about these people because, I was always around older people. Being around my father, I was always around his friends, and then all my aunts and uncles, and the whole thing. We were very family orientated, so it was very comfortable for me to work with these older people, and that's how I made my first jump into the success of this business. But then I had the opportunity when I was to meet somebody that did a big transaction, and when they did this big transaction, I said. It opened my eyes to other opportunities. But when you talk about the premium life, I'm jumping around a little bit. This is my
Yeah,
first podcast, so I've got
not
to
a
get a little
problem.
comfortable. But
Sure.
when you talk about the premium life, so here's what happened. I met a mentor of mine, and still to this day, he's been gone for like 23 years. But when I met him, he was like 15 years older than me, and he was a marketing machine. So he would get in front of people every week. He might have had 30 appointments, and he would be working like from day till night. But then he was always into planning trips and creating memories. And this is before the iPhones. He had that Canon camera, and he was always taking pictures of where we were doing with special events. And he was saying life is just about memories. Because at the end of the day, you can't take the money with you, but all people remember is the memories that you create. So growing up in a blue collar family like I grew up, we ate at home every single day, 7 days a week, all our meals. My mother packed my lunch. It was like never really went to a restaurant until I was probably like 19, 20 years old. Um, but good food, good values, all those things, but never really experiencing life, always just work and discipline and all the things that you have to do just to survive, right?
Yeah.
And this guy, what he taught me was, life, you got to have a balance, and you got to create memories. And so he was into scuba diving, and when I first started working with him, actually I recruited him to sell insurance, and then he recruited me to do the marketing, and then we started recruiting other guys to do the marketing, and to this day we're still recruiting guys to do the marketing.
Okay.
So many years later. But what I'm trying to get is the premium life. Where did we come up with this name and the meaning behind that?
Sure.
And here's what it is. So when I first started working with him, my goal was I was going to outwork everybody. But then he's like, hey, you're going to burn out. You got to have a balance. And the balance was he was in the scuba diving. So he says, I'm going to get you scuba diving lessons. So on my like 25th birthday, he bought me scuba diving lessons, and then he would buy me a little different gear to go scuba diving. So then next thing you know, he's got a big boat, and we're going out in the water and the Gulf, and we're going down the East Coast, and we're doing these scuba diving trips. And then we recruit other agents, and we're buying them scuba diving trips. Next thing you know, we got a dozen guys, and we're all going on these scuba diving excursions, and we're creating these memories. And then we would plan these trips, like reward trips for, for our recruiting efforts and our building our business. And the first trip we went on had to go to Italy. So my first trip, I was probably 32 years old. We went to Italy, created great memories, had about 20 guys. And then we did another, then he was into flying airplanes. So he was buying airplanes, fixing them up and selling them. And meanwhile, we were in the planes all the time. We had 6 offices around Florida, and we'd fly to these different offices. And I'm in the plane with them all the time, and we're recruiting guys, working out of these offices. And one time I said to him, Jim, I got to learn how to land this thing, because if I don't land it, I'm screwed if something ever happens to you.
Right.
So he bought me flying lessons. So all these experiences and all these things that I was doing in life, it wasn't just, making money and being financially successful, but it was like how to live your life and how to have a balance. And his model was, hey, we're going to work hard for 3 months, and then we're going to plan a great trip and a great experience and a great memory. And unfortunately, he died about 22 years ago. I was probably like 36, 37 at the time. And we had this goal that we were going to recruit guys, and we were going to change their lives, and we were going to create all these memories. We were just going to have a really good time doing it. And so in his honor, I named the brand and our motto, the PremiumLife. And it was around creating memories and creating experiences with the financial independence you get doing the marketing and doing the bigger deals. So that's where it came from.
That's an awesome story. And obviously, I mean, you say over 20 years ago, he's been gone. And just listening to you talk, it sounds like you saw him yesterday. That's how much of an imprint he has on you. And that's just a fantastic story.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you put this together and you have it PremiumLife. You've got the name, you've got everything. When did this start? When did PremiumLife actually start?
Well, again, when I started working with him, I was 20, maybe 26, 25, 26 years old.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
By the time I was 28, I don't like, putting numbers out there, but we're in the finance business, so I'm going to say what numbers.
Of course.
I made over $1 million, and I was 28 years old. I was working, with my father, we would get $2 a block. So if you did, 300 blocks in a day, you made $500-600. That was a great day.
Right.
Here I made over $1 million, and I was just a kid.
Wow.
Looking back at that time, I thought I was an adult, but looking back at some 28-year-olds now, I think I can't even believe it myself. And the main reason was because, one, we had empathy, always trying to help the people. Had a good coach, a good mentor that taught me processes and systems. And I was getting in front of a lot of people on a regular basis. So anytime, if you're in the financial services business and you got a good program and you care and you ask the right questions and you really want to help people, you're gonna make money in this business. I mean, it's just gonna happen. And so to answer your question, when I made that first leap of, that kind of money, and then going on that first scuba diving trip, going on that first trip to Italy. And then, after the Italy trip, we went to, Barcelona, then we went to Greece, and then we went to, the Napa Valley. Then we went to we always were going these great experiences. And when we would do it first class. Like anytime we do something, we go a little above and beyond what anybody's expectations were. So it always would be memorable. So the PremiumLife started obviously when you're able to afford to do it, and then the other thing was just having that as a main focus point, that you really want to make a difference and create the memories. So when I'm gone, people 20 years later can say the same thing that I'm saying about my friend and my mentor Jim.
So life experiences are really important, and to me, just listening to you speak, it's sort of a key to your business too, in the sense that you gather people around, other advisors, and you share life experiences. So, I mean, that's what that's sort of, I guess, your theme to how you conduct your business, your life is through experiences. Am I understanding that correctly?
100%. And during the podcast, what we're going to do when we have like we're working on cases every week with different advisors, and
Right.
we have like a theme or a case that we think is
Sure.
relevant. We're going to do a case study, talk about the people, different, change their names, but talk about their situation, talk about, what their real motives were, what their why was, because it's not just about my blue fund is better than your red fund,
Right.
or I'm going to not lose as much money as the market. It's really about the why and the purpose and what's important to the people, and try to help other advisors understand and maybe relate to our process or the questions that we're asking or the reasoning that we're doing, and hopefully they could learn from that and do the same things.
And I have a feeling that we're going to hear some interesting stories on this journey
Yeah, I
that
hope so.
that
Yeah,
you're
I
gonna
think so. Yeah.
that you're gonna share. Well, it sounds like you have a ton of stories yourself
Yeah.
to share, and I would encourage you to share these stories because people love life experiences,
Hmm.
and it seems like life experiences is what you tie into what you do as a financial a financial advisor and working with other advisors.
It is. I mean, when you think about the financial services business and the insurance side of it, and even the annuities, like to have guaranteed income, it's not about the product features. It's about why the features are important to people. And when you start really understanding that, and you start really understanding the people and their real true motives, it you're really a problem solver, and you're a dream maker, and you're the person that's going to help make sure the kids go to college, and you do all the things that you're preparing your clients to have their premium life. Maybe it's not going to be at the same level that we're having, as far as going on these trips or flying airplanes, but
Sure.
but it's going to be what their premium life is in their definition. We're going to help them achieve it.
Well, as I was listening to you and the things that you were listing off that was important, it just sounded like that it's more than money. It's about getting people prepared to enjoy life like you have.
That's what it is. That's the premium life. So it has dual meanings. And then I like to say it even has the premium life for the advisors, because we're going to help the advisors have their premium life when they help their clients have their premium life.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, let's continue on. You've gone over a whole bunch of stuff that you have that we can expect, as far as the tone of what your future podcasts are going to be, the format, value, and things like that. You did mention future guests. Do you have any future guests that you can share with us, or is this going to be something as you go? It's a list that you're working on
Well, we
as
are
we
working on it,
speak.
but we're going to have some, estate planning attorneys, and we're going to talk about, estate plans and the importance of setting up the proper estate plan. We're going to have, advanced planning. Um, I work with several law firms, but one of them that I actually used for myself was the same law firm that the Rich Dad Poor Dad author Robert
Oh yeah,
Kiyosaki, that he
yeah,
uses and he recommends in his book. So we'll get some insight from them. That he works with the real higher network clients, and a
sure.
lot of philanthropy and charity talks, and like what's important to a lot of people that that at that level. Um, how you relate your conversations to them, and what's going to be their premium life and what's important to them. I always say that if you want to get the bigger clients, it's kind of like going fishing. You got to have bigger bait to get the bigger fish. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but like in
No,
a
yeah,
metaphor.
sure.
It's you got to know the conversations and what's important to those people, and that's what we're also going to try doing this podcast, is share some of those stories, so then when you have that opportunity, if you're not already working with those clients, maybe something that you learn or you hear is going to resonate with them.
Excellent. Okay, we've been talking for a while, and I've asked a whole bunch of questions. Is there anything that I have not asked you that you want to share with people who are listening now?
Well, the so we're talking about business.
Yeah,
The other thing I want to talk about in these podcasts is your health.
sure.
Like, and we're going to talk about that during this meeting. I have like a holistic doctor. I belong to Centergenics, which is a whole nutritionist, anti-aging program, and and just the benefits of exercise, getting the right nutrition, the right diet. So I'll probably on the podcast I'll probably have some nutritionists. I have this holistic doctor. I might have him on here. We'll talk about some of the things they do, and then spiritual.
Hmm.
Because we're all here for a reason. And God put us here for a reason, and we have to kind of tap into that. So I want to, although I'm not, you know, that's probably something I'm always learning and trying to develop and learn. And I hope we can learn it together on this podcast
Okay.
or
Well,
develop it.
I went to a Catholic school for 12 years, so I know a lot. And I got a lot of stories about how the sisters and the priests and the brothers, Franciscan brothers, how they taught me some
Mhm.
lessons. So I'll share those, and a lot of them are on the humorous side as a teenager dealing with that. So I'm looking forward to sharing that. So how can listeners join in, subscribe, embrace their own premium life journey?
RJ, I thought of somebody else that I wanted to share.
Okay,
That I'm going to be. We're going to be coming up with new guests all the time, but I did
sure.
think of somebody that I didn't mention just a second ago, and that is a guy named George Villar, or Jorge Villar. Um, we have a brand or a company called Marketing Advisors to Millions, and he's the guy that I used 40 years ago getting people to these events. And from the time 40 years ago till now, he's done over 2 million events for
Wow.
advisors around the country. He
Wow.
sold his company twice to private equity companies. And when he was ready to retire, I had him join us because he has a marketing mind, he has marketing experience, he has a lot of data, and I'll have him share a lot of that data with the advisors. Again, so they could treat their business like a business, and we'll show them the marketing strategies to get in front of more and more people.
Sounds like a guest that you'll probably have on more than once.
Well, he's actually in my office, so I think we will.
That's good. All right. We've covered a lot. How do you feel after your first podcast?
I mean, it's a little nerve wracking because I'm not sure what I'm going to say and I'm winging it, but it's good. We'll get the hang of it. Okay, so also, RJ, when you asked me about the premium life, so there's two ways that I find that advisors make money in our business, and I did both of them. One is working the numbers and getting in front of a lot of people and finding a good process and just repeating it over and over, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. My mentality is like almost like laying the bricks. Just keep doing the same thing over and over again.
Hmm.
The problem with that, sometimes it can get a little stale or you get bored with it, because you're doing the same thing. You want more challenges and you want to do something different. So this mentor that I had, one of the lessons that he taught me in business was, hey, when you find something that works, just keep doing it over and over and perfect it and brand yourself that you're the expert and keep doing it over and over and over and over again. And then you will be the expert and you'll be branded as the expert and people will recognize you as the expert. So that's what I did with this premium financing transaction that this person did. When I talk about, and this could be, when I talk about the fishing and the
Right.
metaphor about the bait and the
Hmm.
bigger bait, this is just dealing with clients with bigger problems. They have to write bigger checks.
Okay.
And that's it. And, so you deal with somebody that's worth $100 million. The government says you can transfer 30 million with no tax with the proper estate planning,
Right.
15 million husband and wife each. That other 70 million, the government wants 40% of it.
Yes.
And, that's $28 million. So someone works their whole life, takes risk, discipline, does all the right things. And then when they go to transfer their estate to the people they love, which is their premium life,
Sure.
40% of it's going to be gone. So we show them how we can fund a trust with liquidity, funded with life insurance using bank financing. And we're really good at that. We're probably one of the biggest in the industry. So that's something that I'm really going to drive home on this podcast and I'm going to share with people and we're going to change people's lives.
Excellent. Excellent. That's a just a great goal to have and to strive for. So I guess we are at the point where we can wrap this up.
Sure.
And Vince, I think you did an excellent job on your first podcast.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
I couldn't have done it without you.
I appreciate that.
Appreciate you. Thank you very much.
And most importantly, thank you for listening to the Premium Life podcast with the team from Simplicity. If you have not subscribed to the podcast, please click the subscribe button below. This way, when the team comes out with a new podcast, it will show up directly on your listening device. And we humbly ask you to share this podcast, rate it, and leave a review, because this actually helps others find the podcast. Again, thank you for listening. And for everyone at the Premium Life podcast, I'm RJ Mao.
Thanks for listening to the Premium Life podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode packed with strategies and stories designed to help you grow your practice and create lasting impact. To learn more and connect with Vince, visit simplicityufc.com. Remember, relationships and integrity are the foundation of everything. Protect what you've built, think bigger, and keep creating your premium life.
This podcast is provided for educational and informational purposes only and is intended specifically for financial professionals. The content discussed, including specific case studies or strategies such as premium financing and estate planning, does not constitute legal, tax, or investment advice. The opinions expressed by the host and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of their respective firms. This content is not a recommendation to buy or sell any specific security or to adopt any particular investment strategy. Financial professionals should conduct their own due diligence before implementing any strategies discussed. Past performance is not indicative of future results.